Peace, peace, peace. What it is, your brother Tavon Sueno, aka the Orthodox Moor. Wishing you all peace and blessings. And this evening, I'm going to do a quick part one on breaking down DNA and the YAP gang model for Judah Natzarah and the Torah Knights. As y'all saw previously, he was calling us out for a debate on the topic of GPS versus haplogroups, etc., whatnot. And so, like I said in some previous videos, I want to use this as an opportunity. As a learning opportunity, whatnot, as a learning experience for everybody, whatnot. So in a previous video, Judah went over two articles having to do with Aaron Elhike. However, he did not completely go through the articles. He went through parts and sections of the articles, but he didn't complete the articles, whatnot. So what I'm going to do on this quick part one is put out some disclaimers, put out some friendly advice, and go through both articles in full and go from there. Hopefully do a small series on this for the Torah Knights and whatnot, so we can all understand where everybody's at and what everyone's positions are, et cetera, particularly if there's supposed to be debate on this. So real quick, peace to everybody in the chat. With that, I'm going to share my screen. Share my screen. Make me a little bit smaller, I think. And blow this thing up. Let's go. And again, to be clear with everybody, this ain't a beef thing, you know what I'm saying? This is just a dialogue on information and whatnot. Yeah. But as you can see, it's breaking down DNA and the YAP gang model for Judah Natzarah and the Torah Knights. I'm not so sure in listening to Judah talk that he's familiar with our model. He was talking about, like, for instance, like, y'all got to use haplogroups and nothing else, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, I don't think you really know how we get down on stuff, because we don't just use haplogroups. We use shout out to D-Red. He jumped on and was trying to explain to Judah that we use haplogroups, we use autosomal DNA, and we use material culture where it's necessary and where it's applicable. And that's something that I hope to make clear to the Torah Knights and the Judah Natzarah going forward. And also why we differ with the GPS model. No, it's not a model that we're going to be running to pick up anytime soon. And you'll see why when we finish reading the articles that Judah did not finish reading. Again, like I said, the YAP gang uses haplogroups to trace paternal and maternal lineages and migrations over space and time, etc. We use autosomal DNA to trace admixture events. We use material culture to trace practices amongst people groups and whatnot across these migrations and admixture events. And using all that information together, we get to find out a lot about people. If Torah Knights is going to wade in the DNA conversation, as a friendly heads up, Aaron Elhike will have you out here looking crazy, fam. So there's a lot of Israelites who like to use Aaron Elhike as their main geneticist and scholar, whatnot, on the topic, because they like to try to beat up on the Ashkenazi Jews and try to make them fake Jews, etc., etc., etc. One YAP gang does not do that. We don't back the Khazar theory, etc. We don't deny that there's probably going to be some Khazarian admixture, and there are some Khazarian haplogroups amongst the Ashkenazi Jews, but they don't make up the vast majority thereof, right? And we don't deny Ashkenazi Jewish heritage to Levantine populations and whatnot, based upon certain haplogroups they have and some autosomes they have, right? And again, it's important to point out, if you're going to use the Elhike model, Ashkenazi Jews have more Levantine autosomes than West Africans. But there are reasons why many geneticists think that Elhike is pseudo. And hopefully over the course of a few videos in this series, we can help people understand that, particularly the Torah Knights. And And I'm definitely doing this because I got love for the Torah. I've been building with the Torah for years and whatnot. You can see me on Judah's channel for a long time. You can see Judah on my channel and whatnot, right? We don't agree on everything. He definitely has like some one Westist beliefs that I don't rock with. But I respect him for a lot of unique stuff that he does rock with. You can go look on my channel and you can see a fantastic conversation we had about allegorical things concerning the temple, and the implications thereof, and whatnot. Very, very fantastic conversation. However, when it comes to this here, we differ, and we're going to differ for a few reasons. One, he does have a type of belief about Edom being the white man and when Esau being the white man. I don't think he believes all white men are Esau, but I do believe he believes some, etc. Right in that concept. And he believes it's someone in that one West vein. And so we're going to differ on this because that's always going to shade how you look at the genetic information and whatnot, right? And so we may consistently butt heads on this, but we also you may see where we're coming from on a lot of stuff. That remains to be seen. Hopefully, though, like Judah's a rational individual. I don't know him to be like super irrational. Like the one thing I dig about Judah is like he'll sit back and look at some stuff, look through some stuff. And so when it comes to the genetics, Judah, I will tell you this: it's heavy reading, fam. One paper turns into 4, turns into 5 because you got to read one paper plus the hyperlinks plus the supplemental studies, etc. Like it's a lot of information to sift through. So, for instance, even with some of the articles you read and went through, there's other articles that they're connected to, whatnot, that themselves have supplementary data, etc. that you got to sift through, etc. A lot of information, which I'll be going through the supplementary stuff on another video. But going forward, El-Hike has a DNA website that uses his methodology to connect people to ancient Egyptian and Israelite populations. People like Jashub and William Brown have tested to be 98+% Stone Age African and 0% Israelite via his methodology on his own website. And there's a reason for that. And what we try to explain is that people need to understand that ancient Israel did not autosomally look like West Africa. We can find sub-Saharan autosomes amongst the Israelite population, but you need to understand that like the autosomes of ancient Israel do not look like West Africa or totally like sub-Saharan Africa. That's not how it looks. There's Levantine autosomes. There's sub-Saharan autosomes. They're a different thing, then. They're a whole different thing and whatnot, right? So most African Americans majoritively have autosomes that look like they're West African. Do we have some Levantine autosomes? Yes, we do, in a very small number. But do we have them? Yeah, we got them. But we need to understand, if you're going to go by that concept, there's other groups of people who have Levantine autosomes at a way higher number than African Americans do. Way higher number, including Ashkenazi Jews. In fact, with this website, like again, African Americans are testing to be like 0% Israelite, unless they have like a decent percentage of like a European admixture, whatnot. And there's even evidence showing that there's Latino Americans that have taken the same test on his website, and where we've come up 0% Israelite, they come up 28% Israelite. And a lot of times that comes between it having to do with like a North African and Levantine admixture through Spain and whatnot. The bottom line is Israel did not look like West Africa autosomally, and particularly not 3,000 years ago, etc. Right? And Aaron El-Hak's website has Latino Americans and Europeans connecting closer to ancient Israelite autosomes than African Americans by a very large number. A very large number. And if we supposedly, if we are supposedly ancient Israel based on autosomes, then they are even more so based on autosomes. Even more so. And that needs to be understood. even with all his pseudoness, and this is something that I'm going to review. I'm going to review a video of Judah going through these articles at another time, probably like in a part 2. But in the video where Judah's actually going over these articles and you can go back to the previous video and see them. I cut up a smaller version I'm going to use, but he tries to claim that the Iranian Jews are fake Jews or fake Israelites. They're not real Israelites. They're an other group. They're not us, etc. Is what he's saying. And what needs to be understood is no one's making that case but Judah. Like Aaron Elhike's not making that case. Even with all his pseudoness, Aaron Elhike doesn't try to claim that Iranian/Persian Jews were fake Israelites. Even with all his pseudoness, he ain't making that claim. Not only that, but Aaron Elhike says himself that his method is speculative beyond 1,000 years. And that's in a part of the article that Judah didn't get to because he didn't finish reading it and whatnot. But this needs to be very well understood. That so his methodology only goes back 1,000 years based upon what he's saying. And when you go past 1,000 years, it starts to get dicey. So GPS doesn't go back far enough to be able to prove an Israelite population over 3,000 years ago. It's a couple thousand years shy. It's a couple thousand years shy. Something that Judah was talking about as well in terms of the haplogroup concept was he was saying, well, don't tell me that these people, these Europeans over here have the Negro haplogroup or whatnot, right? First and foremost, there is no such thing as the Negro haplogroup. We have a diverse set of haplogroups amongst African Americans, just as diverse as Ashkenazi Jews, just as diverse. And amongst a small group of us, we carry E1B1B, just like some of the Ashkenazi Jews do, and just like you're talking about, like Napoleon and Einstein and Nicolas Cage having a subclade of EM34. You got famous Israelites, fam, like Dante Fortune. He's a subclade of EM34. My maternal grandfather, he's in EM34. He's of North African descent. What does that mean? And looking Mediterranean, right? What does that mean? Phenotype is fluid. Phenotype is fluid. Genotype is not. There's a reason why we use haplogroups to trace lineage over millennia and not autosomes. Do we look at the autosomes of ancient populations? 100%. Is there a use for that? 100%. Is that going to get you to your lineage? No. It's not going to. Because phenotype is fluid. You could look any kind of way. And have one particular haplogroup. You could look Chinese and be EM34, depending on your lineage. You could be of Indian descent, or like Sri Lankan descent or whatever, right? Be EM34. Doesn't matter. You could be Native American looking to be EM34. Doesn't matter. And the same goes for autosomes. Again, there's no such thing as a Negro haplogroup. Our men and women have a diverse set of haplogroups. We are a whole mixed multitude in and of ourselves as a whole. And hear this, because this is 100% important. There is no monopoly on autosomes. Just like you can look any way and have any kind of haplogroup, any people group can intermix with another people group and exchange autosomes. So there is no monopoly. Like so you can't say like, okay, well just West Africans are going to have, and African Americans are going to have Levantine autosomes. No, anybody can have them. We use autosomes to prove admixture events, and through that we can prove that Levantine DNA came into West Africa. We can prove that sub-Saharan DNA went into the Levant. And we can see haplogroups going back and forth. But we're not the only people that happened with. That happened with a bunch of different people groups. Hence, there's different populations around the world who have Levantine autosomes at a higher admixture level than West Africans and African Americans. And the African Americans that have higher admixture than West Africans do so because they have a higher European admixture. Me being one of them. I'm a good like 1/3, a little above a third, like Southern European and whatnot, right? Spanish, Portuguese, etc. Right? I have roughly 17% Natufian DNA in jet match. That's way higher than the average African American, but it's average for a certain region of Africa called the Sahel, because that's the part of West Africa that has the most Levantine admixture from East to West Africa. It's the same across both. But when you drop below that, we get to single digits when it comes to Levantine DNA. Single digits. And again, other populations, way higher. Way higher. But with that, I'm going to get into this article here, how DNA traced the Ashkenazic Jews to northeastern Turkey. And I'm also going to get into this article here, scientists reveal Jewish history's forgotten Turkish roots. And then I'm going to jump off. We'll check out the chat right quick, make sure I'm not missing nothing. All right. Again, peace and blessings to everybody in the chat. All right, now I'm gonna get to these articles right quick. Yeah, there we go. That's looking right. Again, how DNA traced the Ashkenazic Jews to northeastern Turkey. Aaron Elhike is a lecturer at the University of Sheffield in the UK. He's interested in population genetics, molecular evolution, paleogenomics, and biogeography. He is also the topics editor for Frontier in Genetics. This is edited by Sam Houseby. Northeastern Turkey has not received much attention from scholars of Jewish history. It was not an area of dispute, nor a region known to host famous schools such as the Jewish academies, Yeshiva, in Babylon, where the Talmud was written. There was only fragmented historical records of Jewish settlement in this area. But genetics can now track DNA 1,500 years into the past with village-level geographical accuracy. This accuracy was made possible with geographical population structure, GPS technology, which works in a similar way to the sat-nav geolocation system and uses DNA instead of satellites to predict the most recent geographical origins of a DNA sample. To study the geographical origins of Yiddish, the native language of Ashkenazic Jews, my lab at the University of Sheffield has applied this GPS technology to the DNA of Ashkenazic Jews. Surprisingly, the results, and this is where there's a whole nother paper that goes along with this. If you click on that, Judah, I would highly suggest that you go back to this article and you actually you read the article that goes along with this. Surprisingly, the results led us to northeastern Turkey, a finding that contradicts the Orthodox view that the Ashkenazic Jewry emerged in Germany. There's reasons why, like I said, that my man is considered to be pseudo, and him trying to contradict this concept is one of the reasons why. Denying that Ashkenazi Jews basically came from like a Levantine area, went through like a Roman area, and then went into a Germanic area. Like You can't deny that genetically. And again, if you get into the results of the paper that's cited, it confirms what I just said there. Like there's a reason why one of the reasons why people consider Aaron Elhike a bit pseudo when it comes to his methodology and his concepts is because he goes out of his way to try to disprove stuff about Ashkenazi Jews that doesn't disprove their Jewry. And I'll get into that in just a second here because it's about to become extremely evident. Our continued research revealed that the ancestry of nearly all Ashkenazic Jews could be traced to 4 ancient villages with remarkable names: Ishkenaz or Eskenaz, Eskenez or Eskens, Ashanaz or Ashuz, from 30 BCE to 640 CE. These names might be derived from the word Ashkenaz and are unique to northeastern Turkey. There are no other such place names anywhere in the world. However, this area had a rich history. Until the 1st century BCE, the region was part of the Greek kingdom of Pontus. It had been established by Greek settlers in the early 1st millennium. At that time, Iranian Jews were the largest Jewish community in the world. They held a monopoly on trading on the Silk Roads and were known to Judaize the people they encountered. This is extremely important. At the time, Iranian Jews were this is extremely important. At the time, Iranian Jews were the largest Jewish community in the world. They held a monopoly on trading on the Silk Roads and were known to Judaize the people they encountered. This is spoken of in both articles that Judah does not finish. Both articles this is mentioned. Now, he tries to say that they're not Jews based upon the fact that they're monopolizing trade, etc. And this is underneath other groups of people. This isn't them having independent nations themselves or whatnot, right? And he says, like, no, that this discounts them from basically being Israelites or whatnot. But at the same point in time, if that's the case here, you're going to have to say the same thing about the Israelites in Moorish Spain, who have a golden age underneath the Moors. The most prosperous age they ever know outside of Israel is underneath the Moors, and it's during this same time period. You're going to see in the next article that I go through that it's a similar time period for that they start discussing about it's a similar time period to when the Moors go into Spain and there's Jews they deal with there as well. But so we're going to have to keep it consistent, Judah. We're going to have to keep it consistent and whatnot. So again, Aaron Elhike is not making the argument in any way, shape, or form, and is not trying to that these Iranian Jews are not Jews. He's saying these are the ones who did the converting of people. These are the ones who did the converting and Judaizing of people. Traces of Iranian conversions of Ashkenazic populations can be found in the genetic similarity of the two populations. The residues of Iranian in Yiddish and by certain genetic disorders common to Iranian and Ashkenazic people today, which is of crucial importance to medical research. So again, you're seeing the genetic residue of these actual Iranian Jews amongst the Ashkenazic people. Again, no one's denying conversions or whatnot. No one has issues with that because, like, again, in the religion of the Torah or whatnot, you can have there can be proselytes and converts, and they're considered part of the nation just as much as anybody who's a blood descendant of Abraham or whatnot, blood descendant of Moses, blood descendant of Jacob. No different. So them being converts doesn't take them away from being part of the nation. Now, if you want to talk about like a national or talk about like a lineage concept, like do the majority of Ashkenazi Jews descend from Abraham? No, they don't have a single haplogroup that breaks like 50% in their admixtures or whatnot, right? And so or in their diversity of haplogroups. There's a vast I think I want to say like over 10 off the top of my head haplogroups that they have amongst them. It's very similar with us as African Americans and whatnot. Very similar. But they have E1B1A, they have E1B1B, they have J1, J2, they have R1A, R1B. They carry G, they carry all kind of stuff, yeah. all kind of stuff. Do all of them go back to Abraham? No. And what Judah is referencing is we say that you can't deny the ones who were haplogroup E from going back to being Shem based upon our model. Now, Judah's saying that there's some issue with that, and it sounds like he's saying because they don't phenotypically look black. It sounds like that's what he's saying. Now, I'm not certain that's what Judah's saying, so I'm not putting words in your mouth. Judah, if you want to be clear, please be clear and break that part down. Are you saying they can't be descendants of Shem via our model? They can't be Hebrews. They can't even be potentially descendants of Israel, etc. Because they don't have a dark enough phenotype. Is that what that is? If so, let us know. But again, traces of Iranian conversion of the Ashkenazic population can be found in the genetic similarity of the two populations. The residues of Iranian and Yiddish, and by certain genetic disorders common to Iranian and Ashkenazic people today, which is of crucial importance to medical research. These findings are of great interest to historians, geneticists, linguists, and the large community of genealogists. But genealogy was not always a popular hobby. It was not until the early civil rights movement of the late 19th century that non-elites began researching their ancestry and celebrating their newly found identities. Before then, genealogy had been something elites used to legitimate political rule. Digital technology has recently improved the accessibility of genealogical records. But even in the best case scenario, genealogical records could take us back only about 500 years. Now, genetic research allows us to establish findings far beyond 5 centuries. Genetic tools for genealogical research initially consisted of classifying individuals into paternal and maternal haplogroups, each prevalent in a different part of the world. Example, Western Europe and Oceania. That needs to be understood. So again, you can trace like a prevalency of haplogroups and whatnot. You can use them for migrations and all kind of stuff. And even El-Hike doesn't deny that concept. However, these haplogroups allowed for only very imprecise chronological placement or identification within the past 2,000 to 20,000 years. I want you to look at that date range, 2,000 to 20,000 years. Now, what's interesting about this is El-Hike does not point out what he means by being imprecise. And that's unfortunate because this is where geneticists start to look at him as being mad pseudo and whatnot, because they don't agree with him on this concept. There's ways it can be imprecise, because sometimes you can't get a complete genetic sample from an ancient like a mummy or a dig site, etc. whatnot, right? Sometimes you get partial. You can only code part of the DNA and whatnot, right? So you can't get a definitive understanding or definitive breakdown on something. So, for instance, there was a sample in the Tufian sample, in the Levant, that was E1B1, right? Precursor to E1B1A and E1B1B. The samples around it were E1B1B and something else, right? In further testing, they were able to find enough DNA, and they were able to find enough of the coding to where they could break down. Oh, okay, this isn't just E1B1, this is E1B1B, like the others around it, etc. Right? Sometimes you have issues like that, to where and sometimes you can't get enough extra information from the DNA to find out if it's more or less than a certain haplogroup or whatnot, right? But what's useful about that still is something called mutation accumulation. So like I said, you're not going to find, so that E1B1 could have only, when you went beneath it could have only been E1B1B and E1B1A, because of how mutation accumulation works, right? So because they found enough information to make the determination between the two, okay, it's E1B1B. It's not E1B1, it's E1B1B. Cool. However, it still has the accumulation of E1B1 on there, right? It still has that, and everything prior to that, all the way back to Y chromosomal atom, and that's something that's very important in terms of haplogroups and whatnot is haplogroups can get you back to chromosomal Adam and mitochondrial Eve, to Y chromosomal Adam and mitochondrial Eve, to a single male and female, and that proves out the biblical concept, right? You can't do that with the GPS concept, and you'll understand that here in just a second. And again, so keep the date range 2,000 to 20,000 years there. By 2003, new genetic genotyping technology enabled a newly comprehensive and affordable analysis. This new technique drew on the remaining 22 chromosomes called autosomal. Again, autosomal DNA, which reveal a great deal more information than techniques based only on haplogroups. Now, is it more information? 100%. Is it more useful information in terms of determining lineage? No. Not in any way, shape, or form. Because haplogroups are going to be, they're based off your sex chromosome, not the other 22 chromosomes. And your sex chromosome, you get, again, males getting the having the XY, when females having the XX. Females can go back and trace their mother, etc. And males can trace back on their Y DNA. And females do with the X chromosome, and on the Y DNA, men can trace back their father's father, etc. in perpetuity and whatnot, right? Again, going back to Y chromosomal Adam and mitochondrial Eve. You cannot do that with autosomal DNA. You cannot do that with autosomal DNA. Analysis based on autosomal characteristics tells us more about the genome, allowing broader and more specific inferences of the past. Comprising of more than 90% of our genomes, autosomal chromosomes enable major advances in genealogical research. Since they are inherited from both parents, they also preserve their genetic signatures, allowing us to learn about our family's genetic history. Now, you can learn a lot about genetic history with these extra 22 chromosomes, 100%. You can learn a lot about your health history, all kind of stuff, right? But what you cannot find more about is your direct paternal and your direct maternal lineage from these chromosomes. In terms of what the lineage actually is, you need the haplogroup for that. Just is what it is. Just is what it is. Going further, real quick, I'm gonna check the chat right quick. Make sure I'm not missing nothing important. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Yeah, this is live. Peace and blessings to it, but I'll see you in the chat, fam. We're getting back to it. It is important to bear in mind that genealogical research into the past can answer only certain questions. Importantly, it cannot tell the significance for our time of genealogical findings. Interpreting the meanings of millions of mutations is also a different kind of challenge from interpreting the meaning of a 300-year-old diary record of a remote ancestor who had 10 pigs and 5 roosters. Biogeography aims to provide contextual meaning by tracing both the geographical origin of DNA and the particular time it originated in the population. As scientists, now that's, again, this is what my G was trying to tell you when he jumped on and whatnot, is that we do a similar thing and whatnot. We don't use the same exact methods as the GPS method, but we try to do the same thing in terms of finding who went back to where when. And again, another reason why we use haplogroups for certain things is because we can go back far enough with haplogroups to do so. Biogeography aims to provide contextual meaning by tracing both the geographical origin of DNA and the particular time it originated in the population. As scientists' understanding of genealogical mutations has improved, so too have we been able to develop biogeographical tools to trace the origin of the DNA with more precision. And so in 2014, we developed GPS capable of tracing the geographical origins of individuals with an accuracy in the best case scenario down to a village of origin. At present, the technology works best for more than 1,000 years in the past. Beyond that, the results become more imprecise and speculative. One more time. At present, the technology, GPS technology, works best for more than 1,000 years in the past. Beyond that, the results become more imprecise and speculative. GPS doesn't go back far enough at the moment, fam. Even if you think it's a more superior methodology, again, respectfully agree to disagree with the concept. However, even if you do think it's a more superior methodology, it does not go back far enough to identify the origin of ancient Israel. And that needs to be clear. This is a part that Judah didn't go down far enough and read. And this is why it's important to, again, when it comes to these genetic articles, you got to read them all, fam. Like from top to bottom. You know, a lot of people quote mine, and that's where they get messed up and whatnot. You got to read everything in context. But can GPS help generate new knowledge? Can it illuminate the history of past cultures and languages? In 2016, we attempted to answer this question by applying GPS to the genomes of nearly 400 Ashkenazic Jews. Half of them came from families who speak solely Yiddish. The language is at least 1,100 years old, yet even after centuries of research, its geographical origins remain uncertain. But since geography and genetics are connected with language, as evidenced by GPS, we surmise that predicting the origin of Yiddish-speaking Ashkenazic Jews would also indicate where Yiddish originated. Linguistic studies had pointed at either Germany or the Western Khazarian Empire in modern-day Ukraine as potential points of origin. Our research, however, led us to conclude that the origin of Ashkenazic DNA signatures derives from the encounter of Iranian Jews, Greeks, and other peoples in northeastern Turkey. This region might hold the answer to the origins of Ashkenazi culture, customs, and rituals, but it was never systematically scrutinized for ancient Jewish remains. We hope that the findings enabled by our GPS technology will stimulate further investigation. Follow-up research can help provide more answers to one of the most mysterious and secretive chapters in history, the ancient origin of the Ashkenazic Jewish community and the Yiddish language. Now, again, so this needs to be clear. Judah may disagree with this, but he's disagreeing with the author that he's trying to cite at this juncture, right? Aaron Elhike does not deny the fact that Iranian Jews are Jews, and he does not deny, he confirms the fact that they contributed DNA to the people whom they converted. So they intermixed with the people that they converted. Again, so that this is why when people, like when a lot of Israelites try to cite Aaron Elhike as their main guy or their main source, they end up looking foolish at the end of the thing, because even no matter how he goes about it, he cuts his nose to spite his face. Now, if you want to talk about like people being converts makes it illegitimate, that's a doctrinal concept, right? And we can have that debate based upon the scrolls or whatnot, right? Because something that I and a lot of people in YAP game consistently stipulate is that if you're going to claim an identity in culture or whatnot, the identity in culture from the Torah is the wrong one to try to be racist with, to try to be exclusionary with, because they literally within their legal system have a concept for proselytes or whatnot, have a concept for converting people. Literally. And so this came out in 2016, June 2016. Stop sharing this. Double check the chat one more again. Shout out to everybody in the chat. And I'm going to share one last quick article. And I'm going to shut this thing down. Then I'm going to shut this thing down. There we go. Scientists reveal Jewish history's forgotten Turkish roots. Israeli-born geneticist believes that the Turkish villages of Ashkenaz, were part of the original homeland of Ashkenazic Jews. Again, this came out in 2016 as well. New research suggests that the majority of the world's now Judah looked this up and he was trying to find the original article, but this came up because they couldn't remember the name. But they were like, "Oh, we found a whole nother source, something, right?" So this is again worth going through from top to bottom, and it says the same thing as the other article, and this needs to be understood. New research suggests that the majority of the world's modern Jewish population is descended mainly from people from ancient Turkey, rather than predominantly from elsewhere in the Middle East. Which I want you to catch this, okay? Rather than predominantly from elsewhere in the Middle East, okay? The new research suggests that most of the Jewish population of Northern and Eastern Europe, normally known as Ashkenazi Jews, are the descendants of Greeks, Iranians, and others who colonized what is now northern Turkey more than 2,000 years ago. So we're 1,000 years past where GPS is precise. More than 2,000 years ago, and we're then converted to Judaism. So one more time. The new research suggests that most of the Jewish population of Northern and Eastern Europe, normally known as Ashkenazi Jews, are the descendants of Greeks, Iranians, and others who colonized what is now northern Turkey more than 2,000 years ago and were then converted to Judaism, probably in the first few centuries AD by Jews from Persia. This is the same thing as saying Iranian Jews, Persian Jews, same. So this article is saying the same thing as the other one, is this group of people, Iranian, Greek, etc., that they were converted by Persian Jews. At that stage, the Persian Empire was the home to the world's largest Jewish communities, saying the same thing as the previous article. According to research carried out by the geneticist Dr. Aaron Elhike of the University of Sheffield, over 90% of Ashkenazic ancestors come from that converted, partially Greek originating ancient community in northeast Turkey. His research is based on genetic, historical, and place name evidence for his geographic genetic research. Dr. Elhike used a geographic population structure computer modeling system to convert Ashkenazi Jewish DNA data into geographical information. Dr. Elhike, an Israeli-born geneticist, who gained his doctorate in molecular evolution from the University of Houston, believed that 3 still surviving Turkish villages, Iskenaz, and Ashkenaz, on the western part of an ancient Silk Road route, were part of the original Ashkenazic homeland. He believed that the word Ashkenaz originally comes from Ashkuza, the ancient Assyrian and Babylonian name for the Iron Age Eurasian steppe people, the Scythians. Referring to the names of the 3 Turkish villages, Dr. Elhike points out that northeast Turkey is the only place in the world where these place names exist. Please pay attention to this part. From the 690s AD onward, anti-Jewish persecution by the Christian Byzantine Empire seems to have played a part in forcing large numbers of Jews to flee across the Black Sea to a more friendly state, the Turkic-ruled Khazar Empire, with its large Slav and other populations. Some analysis of Yiddish suggests that it was originally a Slavic language, and Dr. Elhike and others believe that it was developed probably in the 8th and 9th centuries AD by Jewish merchants trading along some of the more northerly Silk Road roads linking China and Europe. By the 730s, the Khazar Empire had begun to convert to Judaism, and more people converted to the faith. So again, this is the same time period of the Moors going into Spain and helping to also liberate Jews in Spain, etc. Whatnot. The Jews were in Spain prior to the Moors going in, and they were in Spain after the Moors got there. But they had their golden age after the Moors got there in 711. They were doing well into the Cordoba Caliphate, very well into the Cordoba Caliphate, man. And again, experiencing the same thing that we see, like again, this whole bit about like, well, they can't be prosperous. Like it's seeming like Judah is saying, he didn't say it directly, but it seems like Judah is saying like people can't be prosperous or be doing well in captivity or whatnot. But we literally see people being raised to governorship like Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, etc. We literally see people like all kind of stuff like that. Just say it like that. And the same thing was happening in Spain and whatnot. And so I know Judah doesn't argue that they're not real Israelites in Spain, because we've had that conversation. So we gotta be even with how we're using the concepts and whatnot, right? We can't special plead. When we start special pleading, that becomes that we start approaching pseudo with that, fam. So anyway, let me see. Is there any more to this? But when the Khazarian Empire declined in around the 11th century, some of the Jewish population almost certainly migrated west into Central Europe. Again, no one's denying. This migration pattern, right, from the Middle East to Europe. El Haik does not disprove this. His own genetic studies do not disprove this. In fact, they confirm such. And he just ends up talking in circles, man. Anyway, there is Yiddish-speaking as Yiddish-speaking merchants came into contact with Central European, often German-speaking peoples, they began to replace the Slav words in Yiddish with large numbers of German and German-derived words, while retaining some of its Slav originating grammar. So even what he's talking about, right? Like, so you can see a genetic admixture and you can see a linguistic admixture. There should be no Germanic words in Yiddish if there was no Germanic admixture. But that's not what we see. Many Hebrew words also appear to have been added to that added by that stage. The genetic modeling used in the research was based on DNA data from 367 Jews of Northern and Eastern European origin and more than 600 non-Jewish people, mainly from Europe and Western Asia. Dr. El Haik says it is the largest genomic study ever carried out on Ashkenazic Jews. His research will be published in the UK-based scientific journal Genome Biology and Evolution. Further research is planned to try to measure the precise size of the Semitic genetic input into Jewish and non-Jewish genomes. And that's the end of that one there. But with that, Judah, I would also stipulate, get into the results of the study, fam, and see what it says for yourself. I'm going to do that on the next one because I'm trying to keep this one short. I don't want to do things too long and whatnot. Trying to make things more digestible for people and whatnot. I'll check the chat real quick to see if there's any questions. No. So with that, family, I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. Stay tuned for part 2. And with that, family, yeah.